Good day and welcome to your favorite sport program on TV, Plus Sports Special. Today's a pump up package for you. We know it's Saturday and the whole house is relaxed, waiting for what we should expect on the Saturday. And mostly on weekends like this, where we have the Plus Sports Special, it's about what events have taken place over the weekend, over the week rather. And we'll be discussing this, taking the most important details and analysis of the 1 week of sporting activities across the globe. Joining me to talk about this is the well-respected season sports administrator. He's also a referee. Most of his likes, since I've known him, has to do with sport. So I'll be inviting you to join me to welcome Tolu Owate.
Much. It's nice being on the program again, and it's always good talking sports. What else do you want to do on a Saturday morning than to talk sports, watch sports, or play sports? Thank you for having me today again.
Yeah, and I'm sure a lot of people out there will be so glad they actually stick to watching you. Yes, we'll start today's story on Thursday. In all the way outside in Africa, we had the 2026 World Cup qualifiers. And Egypt, there's speculations with the new format and all that, that Eagles may draw Ghana and also Angola and some said South Africa because of the new format. What's your opinion in regards to this? It seems that the World Cup seems to be like Nigeria's birthright. We need to be at the World Cup. And other countries, Ghana also, are planning so much. Let's don't forget Ghana did not make us, or we, I don't know whether someone will say it's Ghana, or just we didn't go to the last World Cup. What's your opinion on this World Cup qualifiers?
Um, we always want to be at the World Cup as Nigerians, and just as you rightly said, it seems to be our birthright. I don't think so. Right? It took us a long time before we qualified for our first ever World Cup in 1994, right?
Yes.
Before then, we had several unfortunate cases. I can remember the case of Godwin Odie when he had an own goal in the national stadium, the main bowl of the national stadium. I think that was en route the qualifications to the 1982 World Cup. So we had an own goal. But after we qualified for USA 94, it became almost a birthright. We were in 98, we were in 2002, then some things started happening. We missed the last World Cup, not because we were not good enough, but because mother luck was against us, but we could have done better in our own game against Ghana. We needed just a goal to win, and we had this goalless game in Abuja with Ghana. I can remember it was painful, but it's part of football. Now, the 2026 World Cup, it's going to be bigger than the last World Cup because FIFA has increased the participants. The World Cup is going to take place in 3 countries. The first time in the history of any major tournament to be hosted by 3 countries. It's going to be taking place in America, USA, Canada, and Mexico. Right? Now, Africa now has 10 slots. So we've had groupings into 9 already. Now, the top teams in all these 9 groups will qualify. And the second placed teams in the 9 groups will now go into a playoff to know who is going to qualify who's going to be the 10th qualifier. Guess what? Nigeria has been drawn in Group C alongside South Africa, Benin, Zimbabwe, Rwanda, and Lesotho. There is no team Nigeria cannot beat with our current form. But sometimes we become complacent.
Let me cut you bits on that. I'm imagining someone sitting at home and saying, oh, how true is that? Do you think that still holds as a fact that there's no team we cannot beat?
Yeah, there's no team we cannot beat in Africa, right? But we get complacent lately.
That's cool.
So complacent means that when we have to take our chances, we don't take them. Sometimes we wait till the last minutes before we start rallying around to get points. And all. Remember our last game?
Yeah, that's true.
Took a late minute goal for us to get a good result from that game. We don't want to be sitting at the edge of our chairs because the Eagles are about to qualify. I think it's either we qualify well or we just know that we are not there. We are in Group C. Nigeria, South Africa, Benin, Zimbabwe, Rwanda, and Lesotho. I'm a little happier that we are not in the same group with Ghana.
Okay.
It's not like we cannot beat Ghana. But ever since I was a kid, it has never been easy playing Ghana. You know, there is this rivalry that just make I speak pidgin small. You get as you go see some opponents, right? And once you get in touch with them, your bone goes strong.
Definitely.
That's the case of Nigeria and Ghana. Even if Ghana is presenting the worst team ever in their life, once they hear, oh, Nigeria, they become strong. So I'm happy we are not meeting them. Now, we're in a group that looks easy. It looks like our toughest opponent in this group is South Africa.
Okay.
But guess what? Apart from South Africa, there are some very, very, there's some
tricky nations.
There are some tricky countries there, and there are some tricky games we will play. Benin Republic, our neighbors down the west.
And our former coach.
Exactly. The former coach, General, is now the coach of the Squirrels of Benin, right? Yeah. Now, for General, he's going to want to make all the statements that he can make, right? I have to beat Nigeria if that's the only thing I can achieve. So it's not going to be an easy game. Yeah, on paper, it looks like we will wallop Benin. I mean, football is no longer like that. But because they have a coach that used to be our coach, that left unceremoniously, right?
Yes.
He wants to prove a point. So that's going to be a tough game. Now, guess the other tricky parts there. The African zone, the Confederation of African Football, divided its member associations into 6 groups. We have the Northern Zone, we have the WAFU A, WAFU B, we have the Southern Zone, we have the Central Zone, and the Central Eastern Zone.
Yeah, that's true.
So now, the Southern Zone has 3 members from in our group. That's South Africa, Zimbabwe, and Lesotho.
Okay.
Lesotho is not going to go to the World Cup. Let's not deceive ourselves.
Because I've not been there before.
It's not a function of they've not been there. They don't. At the moment, they don't have what it takes. Right? Okay. The last time we played against Lesotho was en route qualifications to USA 94. We beat them 6-0 in Lagos. Then we went back to Lesotho to beat them, I think, 2-0. That was in 1992 or 1993. I cannot really remember. But the Yekini scored about 3 goals aggregate in both legs. What am I saying? Lesotho is a small country, right, embedded, surrounded by South Africa. So it's a country inside a country. You can as well say that that is an extension of South Africa. So the politics there now is, yes, we know that games are not rigged, but they are going to have sympathy for their big brother, South Africa. So they would rather prefer to lose to South Africa than to lose to Nigeria. Okay. I am not saying and I'm not envisaging hanky-panky, but it is just normal. The other nation there from the Southern Zone is Zimbabwe. That's another. Now, Zimbabwe, based on past history, they used to have good players in those days. Peter Ndlovu, the goalkeeper that played for Leeds, Bruce Grobela, right? Yes, they are not such a bad team. I'm not sure they are ready to go to the World Cup as well. So they're going to likely have more sympathy for South Africa than for Nigeria. Now, Rwanda, the last guys there, they're from the Central Eastern Zone. So it's South Africa against Nigeria. It's never always that easy against South Africa. Although head to head, we have better results, but it's never always that easy. So it's
Okay.
a tricky group. It's a tricky group. Kenneth Raw and the Southern Zone, the Confederation of African Football Southern Zone representatives. I hope they don't conspire against the Super Eagles of Nigeria. But my boys are good on the field. I don't have any doubt in the qualities we have in the team. I just need us to click at the right time.
Yeah, okay. Well said. I'm sure people have penned down one of two memories. You took us way back to memory lane, and that's more very interesting about it. But let's now look a bit now in the present. Jose Pasero, who is our coach. Do you have any issue with him being the coach? Because it seems that the brand Super Eagles that worth millions of dollars is a higher brand, a higher team than his profile. Do you believe that, or do you think we should
Okay.
use
Oh, oh,
something different? Or what do you say about Pascal?
Pa- Passero. Okay.
Yeah.
So, as you rightly know, I'm a referee, right?
Yes.
And I've been a referee for several years. I've refereed across several countries and across three continents now. Uh, um, Referees don't like being talked about by coaches unnecessarily. So I would not want to talk about the coach too much.
Okay.
But Passero is not a bad coach.
Definitely.
Whether he's the right coach for the Super Eagles or not, it's another question entirely, right? Now, we say the Super Eagles brand, the black this, the that. Why should we be hiring Parcero? Why can't we hire grade A coaches? Blah blah blah. The question we should ask ourselves is, can we pay grade A coaches, right? So if
Okay.
we think the Super Eagles are that fantastic, can Nigeria pay Pep Guardiola? Pep
Without
Guardiola?
without owing them salaries.
And the owing part, I don't know whether they owe the coaches or not. I'm not going to go into the
Yeah,
administrative part,
reportedly.
but
Reportedly.
yes. So let
Okay.
us even remove the fact that it's usually reported on pages of newspapers that they owe. I don't know much about that, but
Tolu, rightly said, we had to just go for that break. But let me also put it to you as we look at this Paseo, talking about Paseo. We talk so much about the fact that we can do well, but Paseo, when you say that an ideal coach, whether we can pay him, but are you also an advocate of local coaches? Do you think that will solve the problem? We look at what called that past. We found out that we had almost all the other African countries went to local coaches rather. Do you think that's the next thing for Africans? That's the next thing for Nigeria?
okay. So when you say local coach, are you saying indigenous based coach or Nigerian coaches that could also be based abroad?
Nigerian, I'm removing Nigerian coaches that is based on abroad. The
Okay.
indigenous coaches.
Okay. So I personally am not an advocate of where you come from,
Okay.
what your skin looks like for you to get a job, right? I'm an advocate of if you're good for the job, you get it. Now, being good, it's also not the only function. You need to be seen as good. You can't just be good, you also need to be seen as good. Are our local or indigenous coaches good enough? Yes, absolutely. We have fantastic indigenous coaches. Now, the question is, are they promoting themselves enough? I do not know,
Hmm.
right?
Okay.
It's you can't just be good and sit back. You need to be good and let people know you are good, right? Gone are the days when they say you don't blow your trumpet. Now you blow it. You blow it fantastically. You add saxophone to it sometimes, right?
Rightly said.
In the days of Amadou Shuaibu, Amadou Shuaibu won a major African competition when he was the coach of BCC Lions of Boko.
Rightly. Yeah.
Amadou was, I think, 29 years old or 30 years old. He was very young as a coach. I mean, yes, it was less than 40. It was about 29 or 30. I'm not too sure again.
At that
But
age,
Amadou
yeah.
was coach. Yeah. So Amadou won the first international is, he won the first one, he won the second one with BCC Lions of Boko of those days. Fantastic team, fantastic coach. At that point in time, we had no doubt to know that that was an indigenous coach that was good and was promoting himself because Amadou is a talker. Everybody sees him. There was a time we had the big boss, my friend. Keshi was my friend when I was growing up, I used to go to the National Stadium. We had this rapport. The big boss also showed himself that he had the quality. Nigerian, indigenous, both locally based and foreign based Nigerian coaches are fantastic, right?
Yeah.
The reason they are not getting to hold on to the affairs of the Super Eagles, that is a little bit administrative, official. I don't want to go into it. But do we have indigenous coaches that can do it? Yes, absolutely.
You want to mention
But
names?
again,
Because
you carry your trumpet, you add saxophone, and you blow it yourself.
and I'm talking about late Stephen Ketchin and Shaibu Amadu. They actually went to the shore of the country, outside the shore of the country, to also prove for themselves. But we've seen Amunike doing so well. We've seen Finidi George has done so well with Eyimba. We also know that Iguavon in the past did so well a bronze medal at the Nations Cup, which is something interesting. It's widely say that most of the set of the USA 94 players have become a good coach. They have one credential that shows that if you're a good player, there's that tendency for you to be good coaches. Some weeks back, there have been mentioning of Finidi Amunike taking over Paseo, though that didn't come to pass. But will you be a support or a push of such narrative report if that should happen?
Interestingly, the three players you mentioned, the three coaches you mentioned that are now players are people that I'm emotionally attached to them. And I'm going to tell you why. The USA 94 team was is perhaps the best Super Eagles team I have followed, right? That team was being built from Algiers 90 all to the way to USA 94 when Clemens Westerhoff took over. Before Clemens Westerhoff in 1998, we had Manfred Ona that took us to the Nations Cup in Morocco. Yeah, Morocco 88, Maroc 88. Yes. So Finidi, Amunike, who was the third person you mentioned? Eguavon. So in those days, when those players were playing actively, they were playing in the main bowl of the National Stadium. I grew up around the Surulere National Stadium. I went to watch every training session that they had in Lagos. So I'm sentimentally attached to them. Those are good coaches. We saw what Finidi just did recently, right? Finidi was a fantastic player. He has transitioned to a fantastic coach. Amunike, super fantastic number 11 for Nigeria in those days. He has also transitioned to a good coach. Austin Negabon, fantastic human being. I love him. He has also transitioned into a good coach. Can they take over the Super Eagles job? Absolutely, yes. Whether they will be given the chance or not, I don't want to speak about that. When they get there, we can see what they've done. I mean, we've seen what has happened. Keshi did fantastic when he was there. Eguavon did fantastic too on several occasions. Sia had a good spell with the Olympic Eagles for 2 consecutive sessions. So we've got what it takes, right? In our local coaches.
Yeah, still on this topic, and lastly on the topic, the players. I feel that there's not been so much attachment with the Super Eagles from the past. They've not been the way Nigeria was attached to the 96 teams, Atlanta 96, the USA 94, even to the Senegal 92 and the rest. We keep wondering, is there a detachment, or is it because we are now being fed with other foreign football and we are not more than loyal? I didn't take a survey on this, but I think even with the likes of the fact that we have Osimhen, Paulo Nuachu, we expected more, and it's not coming. Talk a little bit about the players and your own opinion about these players.
Okay, so I understand what you're talking about, and the type of attachment the 96 set got. The 94 Eagles got. It didn't start in 94. That's what I wanted to understand.
Okay.
It started 88, 90, all the way to 94. So they came at a point in time that Nigeria was not too Yes, we were watching the Premier League, but we were not so much deeply so we were not so deeply engulfed in the Premier League, just as it is now. Now, a lot of youngsters now in Nigeria knows everything about the Premier League. They don't necessarily know about the Eagles. I think it's a function of the times we are in, right? The world has opened up a lot more. It's more global. So everyone now associate and have teams in clubs outside the country. For me, growing up in those days, it was the Super Eagles well, I supported the Super Eagles. And if I'm not supporting the Super Eagles, I will always support the Black Stars of Ghana.
Ghana.
And there is a reason for that, but we will come to that another day. So the Eagles of today might not seem to have the same attachment the Eagles of 94 had with Nigerian fans. And what's the reason? The Eagles of 94 did not start in 94. That set of Eagles were together for more than 5 years. I will probably say that that team started from 88, 89, thereabouts, right?
Yeah.
About 3 players from the Maroc 88 team were in the USA 94 team. The big boss, Stephen Keshi, may God rest his soul. I think Eguavon was in Maroc 88. So there was a build-up. It didn't start in one day. We grew to love them. They became part of us. They were national heroes and a national icon at that point.